Good evening, everybody. What a great event. Awesome. Thank you. I'd like to thank, of course, the people at Central for nominating me, the committee to select me for the MAG, for this very, very prestigious award. It's been a long time, 41 years since I graduated. When you get this kind of phone call, oh, okay. So, so I want to thank everybody and all the other people here tonight that are receiving these other awards, these young athletes that are just starting. They have a long ways to go. I'm going to give you some tips shortly. Don't give up. Don't give up. I would like to recognize my family, my wife, Julie. Stand up, please. My son, Dustin, my oldest, and my son, Tony, who has come all the way from California for this event to be here this evening. How the heck did I end up at Central Michigan? I'm going to tell you. It's an unusual way. And my experience at Central, I'm going to share that with you. First of all, I'm Italian-born, immigrant in Canada. I came in Canada when I was 10. My family immigrated there. We moved into a small town in northern Quebec, 600 miles north of Montreal. Coming down to Michigan was summer, okay? All right, so that's where we settled. My father was a skilled concrete worker. He got work permit. That's where we settled. And here I am at age 10 in a new country. Canada is bilingual. At the time, in Quebec, you still could choose. You could go to English school, you could go to French school. You still had that choice. My parents chose English school because it's more universal language. It all goes part of the process. Through school, I love sports. I love sports. I play every sport there was. I just loved it. It was games, it's fun, you got friends, you throw, you do this, you win, you lose, whatever, it was fun. The city had a lot of stuff, leagues, clubs, and so forth. And I had a really interesting physical education teacher for 2 years that was awesome back in those days. He was innovative, he made things fun, he made things interesting, and I said, that's what I want to be. From that day on, my goal was to be a PE teacher. I had made up my mind, that's my goal. I'm not going to work construction, I'm going to be PE teacher. So through high school, in this small town, very small town, they started a track and field club through the city. Schools didn't have the system that we have with the sports. So, of course, with all the buddies and all the others, we go and go, okay, you high jump, Bruno, you throw. Okay, because maybe you haven't noticed, I'm a little hefty, So I wasn't that good in sports, but I enjoyed it, and some of them I was really bad. I mean, you don't play hockey and start skating at age 10. You're way behind, but it was fun anyway, so I did that. So I start throwing this ball, this shot put, and I go, this is one thing that being big is an advantage. I like this, So I kept going with it, and I was getting some success at the city level and at the regional level and at the high school and so forth. And so forth. I said, okay, that's great, So I still play all the other sports, but mostly that. So at the end of high school, I have to go to college. And Quebec has a very different system. You have to go 2 years junior college before you can go to 3 years of university to be a teacher. So I went down to Montreal, and I did it on my own. My parents could not afford to send me to college. My dad was an hourly worker. When I graduated, he was in his 60s, and you can't ask him to give you money in a way. So I worked, and I went to college. So I went to this 1 year in Montreal. I joined the track club in Montreal. I'm continuing my track career. I'm getting my first year of PE teacher in. And it comes the end of the year that there's no more money. I spent all my money that I earned, 5 summer jobs earning and putting away in a bank. 5 summer jobs, 5 summers. So there you come to the point where I said, what do I do? Do I give up? Do I go back home and work construction and never continue my sport? Or do I do something else? And I decided at that point, I said, I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to work. I'm going to earn money, I'm going to put it aside, and I'm going to go back to school the following year. I did that. That was in 1974. Canada was getting the Olympic Games in 1976. There was a lot of big hoopla sports, and they opened this new training center where I got a job, full-time job, not a student job, full-time job, where I worked there, and these athletes from all over Canada came to Montreal as a training center, getting ready for the '76 Olympics 2 years later. They're up here, of course I'm down here, skill-wise. So I'm working there, and I met this one guy, javelin thrower from Ontario. He moved to Montreal to train. And we start talking, he says this and that, and he goes, and there is, these sports scholarships in the United States. Excuse me? Serious as there is. What do you mean? Yeah, if you're a good athlete, you can get a sports scholarship in the States. You're kidding me. You're pulling my leg, I said. That can't mean really? So gradually, with other people, they explained me the system. I had no idea that such a thing existed. I did not know that you can go somewhere, do what you really love, and they pay for your school. It's pretty damn nice, isn't it? So I'm talking to these people, and I go, so some other people join in. And then I understood, well, it makes sense. That's right. Quebec is a French-speaking country, province, Not a lot of people can go there because they're not bilingual, but Ontario, other people know about the whole system. So they tell me the whole system, and I go, wow, so do you think I have a shot? Some people said, maybe, no, you're not throwing far enough, but I go, well, the heck, I'm going to give it a try. Why not, right? I have, what can I lose out of it? I'm still working. So I wrote about 40 to 50 handwritten letters to different universities in the United States. I don't remember why, who, and what was the order of these letters. Somebody was helping me, asking them, is there a possibility? And my name is Bruno Pauletto, I'm throwing this far, I'm in Canada, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. Got a lot of great replies. You're not good enough. Simply that's what it is, I was not caliber in many levels to get kind of a scholarship. A few offered me a partial scholarship. Very few. So I go, I've been working all this year. I got this cash here. They give me this partial scholarship, and they're all different from one school to the other, obviously. And I go, maybe I can make it. I get the brochures from several schools, and I get the academic one, especially, and I knew about Central. I was one of them that was going to give me a partial scholarship, and I got the brochure from the education department, and it's a very important teacher school. A lot of teachers graduate from Central. I go, well, this is me. I want to be a teacher. This is the place I need to go. So I chose Central. I came down to Central on a very small scholarship with money that I had made working the previous year. And here I am in Mount Pleasant, you know. Within 2 weeks being there, I'm going, oh God, I am in hog heaven. I am in hog heaven. Folks, you have to be in my moment at the time. I am back in school. I can continue my education. There's a track on campus. There is a field house right beside the track where I can go and train the workouts in the winter. Inside the field house, there's a weight room. Oh my gosh, no more buses, no more subways, Montreal this way, Montreal that way, all this, everything is there. 3:30, organized practice every day. Coaches there, teammates there, everything to the clock, just having training, working, helping each other, all that. How can you get better than that? Then dessert. They show me the schedule for competition. Indoors, 10, 12 different competition almost every weekend. Done. Just where we're going, what date, whatever. Flip it over on the other side. It's the outdoor schedule. Another whole bunch of competition. The only thing I had to do is just show up and go. Great environment. Great environment. That first year, which will have been my sophomore year, because I had done already a year in college in Canada because of the NCAA rules, I was a sophomore at that time. I made great progress. I mean, it was fabulous. I couldn't, you know, I'm in school, I got teammates, I'm training, got all these people helping me, all these competitions, just go and throw and come back and all of that stuff. And at the conference that year, I threw my first 60-footer, 60 feet and a quarter of an inch. Huge personal best for me. The first 60-footer. It also happened to be A, win the MAC, B, a new Mid-American Conference record, which I didn't know. Okay, but all beautiful stuff. But inside of me, there is some sorrow. The school year is getting to an end. I know how much money I put in to be there. There's no way that I can go back to Montreal and work a summer and make enough money to repeat it the following year. There's no way. Summer jobs don't pay that much. So already I'm starting to think, gosh, I'm going to have to do another one of those things. I'm going to have to take a year off, work, make money, and come back the following year. You know, just a few days after the conference, a couple of weeks, I don't know, like I said, it's been 40-some years. The coach calls me in, and he knew very well my situation because we have talked, and he knew from the beginning and all that. And Coach Sasma tells me, Bruno, We want you back next year. Yeah, no shit, you know. You know, excuse me. Yeah. You know, I want to be back next year, you know. I want to be back next year, you know. You know, and all this, and he goes, I know your situation. And he goes, next year you're going to full scholarship. So I'm going, yes, I'm going to be back in hog heaven. In hog heaven. So he, now my financial issues are pretty much solved. I'm going back to Montreal every year, compete for the club, had a summer job because I worked for the city, made a few money for, you know, extra, come back. Junior year, of course, continue the same process. You know, now I'm getting a little bit more competitive because, you know, 60 feet as a sophomore, now I'm going to 61, 62, competing more at the international, not national, excuse me, national level and so forth. And at the end of that year, you know, I get fifth at the NCAA, All-American. Decent throw, good progress. Very happy. Go back to Montreal, come back as a senior. And same thing, you know, buddies and coaches and all of that. You know, I said, man, this is all so great. This is fabulous. And, you know, remember, because during the summer, I am competing. I'm not idle like many athletes do because of how the system is. I'm competing. I'm keep going until September. When I come back to Central, okay, now it's time to rest, you know, kind of. So I've got like a 3-season, indoors, outdoors, and Canadian, let's call it this way. So then we go and, you know, and I'm competing now. This is my senior year and all of this, and I'm really pumped, and the Commonwealth Games are coming, and I would like to go to the 80 Olympics, which is not far, you know, in Russia, and, you know, that's my goal, and I'm wearing, during the summer, the Canadian uniform, which was a dream many years before that, you know, like, you know, I'm an immigrant. You know, I just got to this country. I got Canada. So anyway, so indoor season goes real well, and we have the NCAAs in Cobo Hall, downtown Detroit, indoors. That's where the NCAAs were that year. Go there, I win the darn thing. Number one, I threw. On that day, I was the best. I'm an NCAA champion there. I'm in this cloud, if you want to call it, you know. So I'm looking at all this competition, and I'm going, you know, you always stop, you know, in the big competitions, they always stop for the ceremonies, you know, they stop all the events, and they go first place, second place, you know, and they give the awards, and then they continue. And I've been watching this, you know, all the other events and all that. But when I go up to the podium to receive my award, I get this, in Cobo Hall, indoors, this raw standing ovation. I did not, I recognized it, but I didn't understand it. Okay. So I put that aside, you know, everything is kind of fuzzy, you know this. Driving home with the assistant coach back to Mount Pleasant after the competition, we were talking, and so I explained, I said, I've seen all these medal presentations, but I didn't see these people get so excited. And the guy says, Bruno, you're a local boy. You won the national champion. They love you. Okay, that's cool, I said. That's cool, that's great. I like it. Cobo Hall, downtown Detroit, you know, central Michigan. So that was quite an interesting thing. The competitions continued. During that time, I'm starting to look at grad work because I wanted to go to grad school. I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach. So I'm looking at all of these possibilities. And we go to NCAA outdoors, the last competition. Well, I have to go back a second. We went down to University of Tennessee for the dogwood relays. Every year, we went down to Tennessee for the spring break, the dogwood relays. And then the head coach from Tennessee gets me aside. He said, I want you to be my graduate assistant next year. I said, I made a mistake once, 3 years ago, when you wrote me, and I said no to you. And he had justifiable, because I was not that good. But now I want you to be my graduate assistant. Because every year I went to the dogwood relays, I won the dogwood relays. So I decided then to go, and it's going to be where I'm going to do my master's at University of Tennessee. Going back now at the outdoor championships in Eugene, Oregon, my last competition with the CMU jersey on, I took second. On that day, a better person beat me. It was okay. That's what competition is. I threw well. I was pleased. It was my last competition. We came back to Mount Pleasant from that competition. Went to Tennessee, got work on my master's. Still continue competing for Canada, Commonwealth Games, Pan American Games, the World Championships, all over the place, Europe and so forth. And before finishing my master's, the University of Tennessee offers me the job to be their first strength coach ever. Because at the time, that's when things were happening. It was the right time, the right scenario. Everything was happening during that time. And I had other offers that could have gone elsewhere, but I loved Tennessee. I chose it for my master's. And then they gave me this opportunity to be a full-time strength coach. And I said, okay, I took it. And I'm not going back to Canada, basically, because until then, remember, I was a student. Now I got real employment at Tennessee. And I chose University of Tennessee. Shortly after that, I met my love of my life, Julie. We got married, and we have kids, and I coached at the university for 15 years, loved it. It was very difficult because we're the early days of the profession, but I am still at heart a teacher, a coach, a facilitator. I like to help people do things the right way. And came a time where my wife and I started a company, Power Systems, that was a concept born out of nothing, in the living room. And we turned into a very successful company. And therefore, somewhere along the line, there was time for me to make a decision going, which is the future of the Pauletto family? And said, okay, so I retired from coaching in 1994 from the University of Tennessee. I came full-time on board, working with my wife, that she had run the company for the last 6 years by herself with some employees. And then we made it into a successful company. We sold it recently, and now we're retired and we live in Sarasota. So, there were some, and I know there's some young athletes here that got some awards, and they got a long ways to go, and I can see where they're going to achieve even more. So don't give up. You know what's around the corner. Some things look very bleak or very difficult, and you have to make some tough decisions, and, stick with it if that's where your heart is. And to this day, I'm still very, very grateful to Central Michigan forever. And why? Because they took a chance on me. Thank you.